Hi everyone, nice to meet you and welcome today to our presentation. My name is Iramina. I'm a qualified lawyer in London and also in the United Kingdom, England
Mhm.
and Wales. Today I will be explaining you and giving you some insight about the qualification exam in England and Wales, which is called SQE. And I will be guiding you throughout these slides for an hour and then I will getting questions if you guys have any questions in the end.
All right.
So is there anything else you want to add before I start?
Yes, you can start.
Perfect, thank you. So this presentation has been prepared by Love and Bar Academy, which is a service provider if you guys need to prepare for this exam. And so this exam is very necessary to be able to qualify as a solicitor in England and Wales. And if you're an international lawyer or a UK trained legal professional looking to qualify as a solicitor in England and Wales, you have to take this exam. And I'm sure you guys all heard about this at least before. And what is SQE? SQE stands for Solicitors Qualifying Examination. It's a standardized national exam introduced by Solicitors Regulation Authority. So after you guys pass the exam, you are registering to Solicitors Regulations Authority as a solicitor and you're receiving a solicitor number. And this exam came into force in September 2021 for qualification as a solicitor in England and Wales. It was designed to ensure consistent standards. Before that, there was some inconsistency because there was a separate exam for overseas lawyers, and there were another route if they want to follow the training contract routes. And so with this exam, everything is unified and there is no consistency for qualification. And solicitor qualifying examination in England and Wales centralized to stage assessments. And it's divided as SQE1, which is functioning legal knowledge through single best answer, which is multiple choice. And the second part is SQE2, which is consisted of 5 days and it's assessing your practical legal skills. It's mostly written and oral. And so they want to see you that you have a newly qualified solicitor standards in your legal knowledge. At least that's the base minimum. So actually it's a high standard and the SQ2 I think is more challenging than the first one as it requires you to act in a practical way. And there's also a qualifying work experience for 2 years. After you pass this exam, or before it can be, you have to show that you worked for 2 years in this area, in the legal area. And they are also checking your suitability and your character. So it's background check before admission to find out that you are suitable and your character is also good. And why these are matter? And the SQE gives a flexible, transparent route for graduates, paralegal, and career changer, international lawyers, and apprentices. So I joined this route as an overseas lawyer. I was already qualified in another country, and I didn't want to go through the old school route as I already did it in my country, and I was qualified there. So I just took this exam passed the stages and I showed that I was already qualified and I worked for 2 years in the legal area. Therefore, I qualified through this route easily after passing the exam. And I'm going to talk about SQE1 part, which is the first part. And it's about assessing your legal knowledge. And what it tests is your ability to apply knowledge of core legal principles and procedures to practical scenarios. So it also has two separate divisions to exam. One is FLK1 and the other one is FLK2. Both must be attempted and has to be passed. And format is each FLK comprises 180 single best answer MCQ which is a test question, split into 2 sessions of 90 questions each, taken on one day. So you have a break in between after 90 questions. And timing each day is 2 hours, multiply 2 hours, 33-minute sessions with a break. And the total exam is 5 hours, 6 minutes. And the question style, it will be application-led MCQ to NQ level. Again, like they expect you to be in at least a newly qualified solicitor level, not even like a paralegal or a student level, because they let you to be qualified when you pass this exam. So this is the bare minimum that they expect you to show in the exam. No statute or case citation needed unless it's the normal name for a rule, such as CPR 36. Law cutoff, 4 months before the first day of the window, you're examined on the law at that date. So which that means is statutes and laws constantly changing. So they are stop changing, adding the changes in the exam before the 4 months of the exam. And let's talk about what types of law these separate exams in the test consist. FLK1, business law and practice, dispute resolution, contract law, tort, legal system, which is constitutional law, administrative law, or EU law, legal services, and ethics or professional misconduct. Also, it includes money laundering as well. And in the second part of the exam, property practice, solicitor's accounts, will and administration of estates, land law, trust, criminal liability, criminal law and practice, and ethics. And now let's talk about SQE2. I think people are struggling more in this part, which is the practical part of the exam. And this is a single assessment with 16 stations across 5 half days. 12 of them is written and 4 of them is oral. And skills tested are client interview and following attendance notes, legal analysis. And in this case, the client, which is an actor, will be coming to your office and giving you an insight about what needs from you. And then you will be taking notes, which is the attendance notes. And then there will be time given to you to make a legal analysis when the client leaves. And in this case, you won't be marked from the legal perspective during the interview process. It is merely how you act, how you behave with your clients. And in the attendance note and legal analysis, they will be checking how you make the legal analysis on the situation. Advocacy, case and matter analysis, and legal research, legal writing, and then lastly, legal drafting in the written assessments. And advocacy, there is 2 parts. There's a criminal advocacy and there's a civil advocacy. So you will be receiving a case and you will be given a time to prepare your case that you will address to the judge in a separate room. And the judge will be assessing you, how you defend your case and explain it to her or him. And case and method analysis is mostly like the exams that we had in law school. You are receiving a case, a matter, and then you're making a legal analysis. And legal research, you are using LexisNexis or Westlaw to find out how to solve the matter legally by making a legal research. And in legal writing, that's pretty straightforward. It's mostly like they are giving you a case and asking you to write a legal memo to the senior lawyer to explain. And legal drafting, lastly, it most of the time legal forms, one of the legal forms that they ask you to fill out. So basically, written part is like this, and we have oral part. It's 2 half days. So interview analysis and advocacy is oral parts only. And I already mentioned written parts. And SQE2 written oral must be taken in the same assessment window, which means that you can't take the written part in one exam, then say like in another date, next SQE2, you cannot take oral. It has to be in one assessment window as a whole exam. And practice areas covered business, organizations, rules and procedures, dispute resolution, criminal litigation, property practice, and wills and intestacy, probate administration practice. And I might say, I think they're equally important. I wouldn't say like one or more important than the other. I think people are struggling with property the most. And yes, I want to say that because it consists of so many rules compared to the other ones that you need to memorize. It's a bit technical as well. I would like to highlight maybe property might be a challenging one. And written tasks, let's dive into them. Case and matter analysis. So I mentioned about this. Spot clients' goals, you try to aim, and then you find risks and you let them know what might be the next steps to solve the matter. Research, we are finding the relevant sources. You can choose either to use Westlaw or LexisNexis in the exam, and you cite correctly. You find the relevant rule, what is applicable to the situation, and you have to be very concise. Also, people very struggling a lot with research, and I struggle with myself too. I think I might say it's hard to be concise in that sense. I might say it's a bit challenging. And writing part, it has to be very clear, structured, client focused. In this one, we are writing a letter to the client. That's why it's the key I think here is being using a very basic English, explaining that legal language in a very basic way so a lay person can understand. That's the key part in writing assessment. And drafting has to be precise wording. It has to be like um, since it's a form itself, we have to follow the form. So we need to know that there lots of practice needs to be required before the exam, I think for drafting as well. Because when we see a whole new form, it's very difficult to work around. So we need to be used to all kind of forms that might come up in the exam. Oral task interview, as I mentioned, we build a report during the interview, we extract all the facts. And again, what's important here is when the client comes to our office, of course, they don't know how we assess the legal matters. So they are not giving us all the relevant facts. They start talking about something else, then we need to bring them to a topic. We need to dig and ask more deep questions to extract more facts, relevant facts that we need to understand so we can assess the matter and write a legal assessment after the interview. And we need to spot the ethical issues as well. Many people tend to miss this one. It can be either like in the wills and probation, the client is coming to you, and in the end, he might say, like this person, one of my relatives, asked us to send the will to him as well. He just wanted to see. And like we can be, yeah, sure. But actually it is not our duty and it's the breach of confidentiality. So we should not be sharing confidential document will in this case just because our clients ask for it. That kind of tricky situations might come up just to see that if you are following the ethical practice. And then we are proceeding a structured attendance notes. There's a like structure for that we have to follow. Not taking while listening to someone asking questions in a limited time might be challenging. That's why this requires also lots of practice. And if you have before the interview have a structure, maybe some lines, some questions, you know what to put where, and not a blank paper, it really helps. I would advise that. There are ways to do that. Advocacy, it has to be very clear submission. We are talking to the judge. We need to look like we know what we are talking about. We know the law, we know the matter and facts. And so we need to cite also authorities or procedure why we think that it has to be solved this way and how we defend our case. And the judge will be asking us some questions, will be interrupting us. We need to be managing that as well. So we need to be confident and we can answer these questions. And we have to know how to act and behave in front of a judge, how to address. So we need to know that judge in which court and how do we address to that, for example, sir or madam or your honor. There are like different addressing ways depending on the court level. And lastly, scoring and scaling. single pass mark for the whole SQE2, no sectional pass marks. So you either receive a pass or not passed. Results show scale score out of 500, overall outcome and performance profile across skills and practice areas. Of course, you will receive like breakdown and on how much score you have from each areas, but like they will assess your overall score out of 500. And scale scoring adjusts for difficulty between sittings. So I will not be able to tell you at the moment like how many scores you need to achieve now to be able to pass. It changes depending on the difficulty of the exam and how the other candidates performed. And let's talk about qualifying work experience as well. So as I mentioned, I didn't need to do this because I was already qualified exam. I was already qualified in another country for more than 2 years. So, what counts as qualifying work experience? Experience that allows you to develop some or all of the statement of solicitor competence under appropriate supervision and may include roles in law firms, in-house clinics, pro bono charities, startups, or international organizations dealing with E&W law. So this is mostly like if you had any kind of law-related experience for more than 2 years, you can try to use it as qualifying work experience. So you can take the exam either before having this 2 year experience or after. So it's like a box that you need to tick. And minimum total 2 years full-time or part-time equivalent. So it doesn't have to be full 2 years and can be completed across up to 4 organizations. So you don't need to be working in one company or law firm for whole 2 years and no minimum maximum length or per placement. And how do we get it confirmed? Sign off by a solicitor or COLP with direct knowledge of your work and doesn't need to have a practicing certificate. So a solicitor can confirm that, okay, this person has completed 2 years qualifying experience and to be able to keep evidence, role description, data hours of how long you worked, and tasks mapped to competencies, supervisor confirmations, exemplars of anonymized work product. These are the things that you can use to prove that you completed minimum at least 2 years. And how do we register that? You need to register the full 2 years before applying for admission. And you can register completed periods at any time. As I explained, it doesn't have to be before or after the exam. It's just as long as you tick that box and pass the exam, then you can apply to be registered as a solicitor. Just make sure that all 2 years has been fully accounted and proved. It also adds. And the exam itself, booking fees and logistics, booking windows and centers. So SQE1 is in January and July, 2 sittings, and SQE2 is January, April, July, and October. Exact dates, it can be listed and can be seen on SRA's website, and written assessment run in Pearson test centers. So because it's 5 days exam, a separate entity, Pearson is handling with this whole logistic and exam thing. And fees, cancellations and refunds. Fees from September 2025 for SQE1 is 1,934, and FLK1 for that separately it will be £967, and the second part it will be 967. And for the practical part, SQE2, the whole amount fee is 2,974. And these are all VAT exams, so you won't be paying VAT on top of it. And booking rules. Book and pay both FLK1 and 2 together, so initial attempt. And for SQE2, you book oral and written together, same window. So they differentiate as FLK1 and 2 and in SQE oral and written. But actually, like for payment purposes, there are 2 exams, okay? The test one, the first one, and the practical one, SQE2. And that's how you pay as 2 lump sum. Mitigating circumstances, policy defines grounds and ground level, non-attendance limits mitigation. And in case of refunds and cancellations, if you are sick, etc., you need to be checking the SRA's mitigation circumstances detailed page for that, please. And registering an ID verification. So we create an SQE account, complete the diversity survey, and confirm reasonable adjustment if you need any. Verify identity using accepted photo ID. And for the exam day, please don't forget to bring your ID, and you will be receiving a checklist before the exam anyway, so you can follow that. Complete booking when windows open. Seats are first come. International centers vary by window. I think this is the most important part in this page that I want to highlight. Many people struggle a lot because they get booked so quickly. So in my case, I remember like I was waiting for the day that the registration will be open. Like on the first 5 minutes, I was there to log in because previously I couldn't find any seats, so I had to wait the next sitting. So I would suggest like take it seriously. Don't think like I have time. I can do it anytime. The seats are very limited in the exam. And assessment days, essentials, SQ1, 2 sessions day. We said 90 questions each with a break in between. Arrive early, bring 2 IDs for written sittings, primary and second science secondary. It can be a driving license or passport. I think I brought 2 just to be sure. And for the SQE 2 over 5 half days, it's a long exam, so it requires lots of stamina. And you need to be doing lots of practices beforehand, even maybe like a whole 5 days practice at least once to be able to assess your stamina and how you cope that, how can you improve. Oral venue is limited to designated cities, so you cannot take this anywhere. There are like designated cities that you need to travel. Some people like stays in accommodations just to be able to take the exam before the exam day. And written at Pearson, we mentioned. Please also bring your required ID and follow station briefings, as they will be guiding you in the checklist beforehand. And prohibited items, smartwatches, notes, of course, are not allowed. Dress comfortably and professionally. They will be letting you to put your phones and private items in lockers before the exam. So you don't need to worry about bringing someone that someone can keep them. You can all leave them in lockers and will be safe. And results, receipts, and appeals. So in 2025, SQE pass rates. SQE1 January 2025 overall was 56% of all candidates passed, while first-time sitters had a slightly higher pass rate of 60%. So it's not very low, but I think it gets more difficult each year. And I see online that people are complaining that it gets more difficult and difficult, and people are putting lots of effort. So I will say that you need to take this very seriously while you are studying for this exam. In that period, this has to be your life. I remember myself like the only thing that I was doing going out for groceries for 2 months. In the last 2 months, I was only like focused on this and studying for this, except in the time, of course, except work time. And SQE2 January 2025 overall 75% pass rate across all candidates. First time sitters achieved 77%. You might ask why the second one you told me is more challenging, but there's a higher pass rate. But the reason isn't quite mathematical. So the first one is the first step. Like everyone is like there, everyone is assessed. So it's a bigger pool, and there are also lots of not competent people. That's why not many of them are passing the first one. But the second one, already you strike out some of the candidates who are not competent. So although second one, I would say is more difficult and challenging, the pass rate is higher because they're already show that they're competent by passing the first one. So the pass rate is higher. Getting results online portal provides scale scores, pass fail, topic performance, and your deadline to complete within the 6 year window. So you can check your result in SRA's website. It will show you the total in the beginning if you passed and failed overall, and then you will see the topic performance as a breakdown in the bottom, how much you scored from each topic. So if you failed, that you can focus on your like bad ones in the next one. Um, so you have 6 years to complete to this exam. And the next one is resits and attempts policy. You have up to 3 attempts per part FLK 1, 2, and SQE 2 within 6 years, I have mentioned, from your first sitting. If you fail both FLK 1 and 2 together, you must resit both in the same window. Makes sense. I mean, if you haven't passed any of them, you have to take all them all together again. And previous passes do not carry across a reset of the 6 year period. And appeals and clerical checks. Use clerical checks for suspected transcription aggregated errors. Use appeals if there are any grounds under policy irregularity. For example, you saw an error and or there were some mistakes, you haven't been provided a pencil in the second assessment. There was a situation like that for one of my friends. Then you need to appeal and file promptly. Of course, like you should not give so much time. You should act promptly as it is in law and read the policy windows to find out about your rights. And please address any situations immediately if you haven't been provided any of the assessment requirements, such as pen, paper, anything like that, and take notes or address with a supervisor in the exam station. And exemptions in SQE. Who can apply for exemptions? This is also an interesting topic. Exemptions are primarily available for qualified lawyers, both UK and overseas, who already hold professional rights equivalent to parts of SQE2. SRA assesses applications individually based on the equivalence of your existing qualifications and right to practice. In this case, this is mostly for overseas lawyers. I don't know if we have any overseas lawyers among us. For example, I was going to be able to be exempt from SQE2. Unfortunately, this exemption rule came right after I passed SQE2. So, which is fine. I gained lots of practical experience and I learned a lot. But overseas lawyers can apply for exemption for the second part, SQE2, and can only take the first part because they are considered to have enough legal practical information. Possible exemptions, SQE1, functioning legal knowledge, we said. You may be exempt from FLK1, 2, or both, depending on your prior legal education and practice rights. For example, EU qualified lawyers may receive partial exemptions. I didn't mention about that because I'm not EU qualified, I'm from Turkey. So there was no possibility that I would be exempt from the first one because our law is very different than EU law. But EU qualified lawyers can be exempt from the first one. And SQE2 practical legal skills, full or partial exemptions may be granted if your jurisdiction's training practice standards match those of an NQ solicitor in England and Wales. This is less common and requires strong evidence. That's correct. Like you need to submit lots of documents showing that you have a very strong practical qualification in your own country. Again, you have to be like working for more than 2 years. So you still have to provide that qualifying work experience. And what you cannot be exempted from, qualifying work experience. As I said, like even if I wanted to be exempt from the second one, I had to show at least that I have 2 years work experience. Because that's the whole point. I'm telling them, look, I have enough practical skills that I don't need to take your SQE2. I will just take SQE1, will show you my legal knowledge, and then I will be qualified. So you have to still show your 2 years qualifying work experience anyway. No exemptions are granted for that. You must still demonstrate competence through 2 years qualifying work experience. And character and suitability checks, we mentioned about that, is mandatory for all applicants. And what can it mean? If you have any criminal records, basically this is for that. It's like DBS check. They're assessing you and deciding like if you are suitable to register as a solicitor. Exemptions in the SQE. Let's dive into that. Application process for the exemptions. I don't know among us if there anyone thinking to apply for exemptions. So we apply via the SRI's website, complete the exemptions application form before booking any assessments. Evidence required, the evidences I told you, like that you need to show certificates of qualification and admission, that you need to show that you are qualified in another jurisdiction, evidence of practice rights, detailed course, content for academic equivalence, that this is your transcript, and from the law school, letters of documents from your home bar authority confirming rights. So you are going to your own bar association in your own country and getting a document showing that you are registered to their system as a solicitor. And the third one, assessments and fees. SRA charges are non-refundable fee per application. So they are checking this case by case. It's not like because you applied, you are being exempt. And the fee is non-refundable in this case. Your request will be reviewed by SRA's exemption team. And the time scale is processing can take several weeks or longer. Apply well before booking deadlines. Practical tips, check your jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions, for example, EU member states with similar training standards are more likely to qualify for exemptions because why? In the law in the UK are very similar to their law. Plan ahead. If you are refused an exemption, you must complete the full SQE1 and SQE2. So you need to think that there is a possibility that they will not let you to be examined. So you need to be ready to pass both exams. And do not book an exam until SRA confirms your exemption. You cannot claim a refund if you later discover you were exempt. So you need to wait everything to be completed before moving to the next plan B or next stage because no refunds is available. And how to prepare for SQE. This is, I think, the most crucial part. And everyone's asking about it. Understand the SRA syllabus. Start by reviewing the SRA Statement of Legal Knowledge and Statement of Skills to understand what topics and competencies will be tested. This is a list, it's on the SRA's website, and when you first read it, maybe it won't make sense that much. You will be confused. I will say still go through it, read it. It will still give you a framework. And maybe after like 1 month of study, you will understand the whole structure. Then go back and read it again. Now it will start to make sense. It's very technical. It's obviously for assessors to be able to assess you. So don't think it like it's very straightforward, but it will make more sense. And again, before the exam, go back and read it again. So you will have the perspective at least of those assessors. Step 2, choose a prep provider. Many candidates opt for prep courses offered by institutions such as Law and Bar Academy, which is amazing. Barbary and Kaplan are the most expensive, but most known ones as well. And step 3, practice, of course. Use past papers. I cannot like underline this more. And timed mocks to build speed and accuracy. For SQE to simulate real life tasks like client interviews and drafting. This is exactly, I already told you. Interview and drafting, especially like you have to know all sort of forms that might come up. If in the exam, a form that you don't know comes up, you will be shocked. It's very hard to navigate a form that you haven't seen it before. So it's possible that you can go through all sort of forms, and also it's still possible that a form that you don't know might come up. I think in my exam, actually, in one of them, I haven't seen it before, but I knew how to fill it, let's say. So I kind of navigated it. But again, drafting is the most important one to do lots of forms and examples. Join study groups, engage with peers through forums like Reddit or RSP or LinkedIn groups or private Facebook communities. Many candidates find collaborative learning helpful. This is true because interview, especially SQE, all of the SQE is very interactive. So you need to know how the other person are like reacting you. Actually, I have a story to tell from the exam itself. In advocacy, the first advocacy exam that I had, it was civil advocacy. And I knew everything. I had my notes. I was reading and submitting my case to the judge, and judge was very positive, smiling, nodding, taking notes. She was like encouraging me with her reaction. And I was so happy I finalized it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get full marks. Then the next one was criminal advocacy. And I was expecting the same attitude from the judge. And of course, the judge was very stern, actually. She didn't look happy at all. Whatever sentence I say, whatever submissions I made, she looked like more unhappy, dismissive, at least I can say. And it made me very anxious. Actually, then after I left and I checked, everything I said was correct. I could have get full mark from that too, but because of the reaction of the judges giving, of course, they're actors. They're trying to make you nervous and to see that if you can cope with the stress. I lost my chill, and I remember I like dropped some papers, and I don't know. It was very, very difficult to navigate. So don't be tricked by that. I wasn't aware or expecting that kind of trick. Before the exam, of course, we share all the tricks, all the things might come up we hear them from the other candidates, but it might be one trick that I would like to share with new candidates that judges don't buy judges' reaction. It doesn't mean that you are doing bad or wrong. And they're actors, they are trying to um, give you stress, then to see how you cope with that. Uh, Prep courses. So the cup you mentioned about Barbary or Kaplan, their fees varies from 2,000 to 6,000. However, in Law and Bar Academy, you can get the full SQE bundle for only 400. Can you believe that? It's crazy. And it's exactly the same thing. And you're not missing anything. It's just, like, um, it's like going to Chanel or going to Zara. They're all clothes. It's just branding. And there's one thing on the chat. 1 second. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lena, for your kind words. And what's included in our SQ bundle? We have 16 textbook, FLK 1 and 2. Each book thoroughly covers all the assessment specification according to SRA. It explains things very clearly and focusing on the most important exam principles with no fluff. We also have like very big books. These are, let's say, official books. They say like, oh, you must read, but they are so long, like 500 pages for one area. Can you imagine that? Who has time to read that while working? So this is very summarized, no fluff. Everything is very to the point. And in the exam, you don't have time for fluff. That's also another another advice from me. I think the SQE is okay, checking and assessing your legal knowledge, and I said stress management, but also time management. I will say these three. You won't have time. So they will ask you so many things, but they will give you very less time on purpose. So they will check you if you can prioritize the knowledge, the main important things. You'll feel like, okay, they want this detail too, but you don't have time for all the things they're asking for. That's also another trick. So you need to prioritize and choose, like, how can I get the best safe outcome for the client, still doing it right, but if I don't have time for details or making it perfect. In business life, we all have this, like, we need to make it done, get it done, but we don't have enough time, but we still need to get it done. So think it that way, approach it that way. And audio files or books include audio resources accompanying each chapter, allowing you to listen and review content on the go. Enhances learning convenience and accessibility, especially for busy students. So you're on the tube, on the train, on the bus, you can listen. And I think for when I was going to work, it was very helpful for me with this and flashcards. So if you listen something and on the bus, you can use your flashcards. There are like some apps that you can create your own flashcards. You don't have to be using actual flashcards. You can prepare your own. Even like preparing flashcards, like or cheat sheets, is like making you to learn. And mock books, 1,000 page. So this is, I told you, like, there are maybe six, seven books with 500 pages. So we have just like one whole thing is 1,000 page. We offer a 1,000 page mock book containing 10 full length mock exams, each with 900 multiple choice questions. So imagine like the practice that you can make with this much. I mean, you wouldn't have anything in the exam day that's new come up. You will know everything. You'll be exposed to everything, which is exactly what you need. These exams thoroughly cover FLK 1 and 2, enabling you to assess your knowledge and identify areas for improvement. And especially the first one, like you just need to test yourself over and over again. You need to see all sort of possible questions. So no surprises in the exam. Also, time will be limited in the first one too. I think you have like 1.4 minutes for each question. So you need to be racing with time again.
Thank you so much, Rem. Thanks so much for your explanation and your stuff. So if anyone has a question, we can start with it.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sure.
Yes, you mentioned about the prior experience. So does it mean that somebody must have qualified as a lawyer in his home country, for example, people coming from overseas, or you have
You,
like maybe some kind of prior experience and stuff?
yes, not to be able to take the exam, but to qualify and register as a solicitor in the end to SRA, you need 2 years working experience. So you can either get it before the exam or after the exam. But without that, you will not be able to become a solicitor.
Probably what I mean, like prior to that, does that mean also legal education only qualifies, like somebody having a law degree?
Yes, because they're asking you to provide your transcript if you are an
Right.
overseas lawyer.
All right. So what about someone with a background entirely like you have programs like international law, but then you do some kind of different courses in there?
Different courses? Or
Yeah, there are people like do they? I don't know how to put it for it to understand. Like somebody might have like a mixed education, like undergraduate did something different, right? But then
yeah.
in a master's, like have a master's degree in law.
Yeah. No, as long as you can have 2 years qualifying experience, so
Right.
you will not be able to get 2 years work experience without studying law. For example, if you're an engineer, you will not be able to
Yes.
have no one will get you into their law firm or company as a lawyer. So
Right.
you need to get that 2 years experience. And if you study something else and did masters and then be able to find a job in a law firm in a legal area, then it's fine. As long as then you have 2 years experience, then it's fine.
Right. Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
I would like to ask you about your personal experience, how it was, how you go through, how timing affected some mental.
Lamia,
I would
apologies.
like to know about your personal experience, how you managed. First of all, which method you used when you prepared, how you balanced lectures, theory, and mocks, how to do every day, or after you learn some subject area of law and then you use practical on mocks. And when you went on that exam, how it was? Pressure, timing, mental stress, how you take yourself together, how you can read so fast and think and answer. This is a big trick for me.
And you were cutting out a bit, but what I could, sorry, let me fix this issue. Okay. Can you hear me now? Perfect. So my personal experience was I came to London and I was studying for my master's degree. But before coming to London, it was COVID time and I wasn't working at that time. That's how I could find time to study for the first part, the test part. And what I did for that, I'll give you the broad picture for everything. And I was at home reading. So I had like books for each assessment area. I read one assessment area, then I start doing the mocks for that. While doing the mocks, I was realizing my weaknesses. Then I was referring back to the book. So I did this book, I read the book like maybe 3 times, highlighted. Then after a while, together integrating with reading and getting a knowledge and practicing on tests, I kind of became an expert. I mean, I didn't like score full mark, but I was competent. And I did that for each area. And in the last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, I only started doing the mocks, full exam. I was sitting there for 5 hours, okay, with break in between, and I was doing it. First, I remember I failed, and I got like 40, I think. And I was depressed. I was like, I studied for 2 weeks. I did the test already, but when I came to actual mock, I failed. And but then I had 10 mocks in total, which you guys had much more with our provider. And in the end, I think after 4 mock, I started to go beyond the pass mark and I was happy. Okay, now it's working. It's just, pace that you need to know the timing, all practice. And I passed the first one. For SQE, I moved to London. I was a student. I was also working part-time in a law firm. And they were so nice. They let me to, study. I took my whole annual leave in one bulk before the exam. But I was coming home and I always had time. I was a student. I didn't have a family at that time. So I invested in this. I was only studying for this. I did the same structure. I was reading it, then making practice. And yeah, last 2 months, as I said, I just focused only this. I didn't do anything else. And the last 1 month, I was fully off from work. I only studied this. And yeah, it worked. And stress, of course, it was very stressful. But yeah, if I could answer your questions.
Yes, thank you very much. It was interesting.
Yeah. Anyone has any other question? I mean, you just need to have the right materials, right mindsets, and you need to think like, I'm gonna do this. Like, there's no other way. There's no if. You just, I will pass this, and that's it. You have to put your all, and I'm sure you guys are all capable to pass this.
Thank you all for joining today's webinar. Of course, I will send all the presentation to all of you. If anyone has a question, we still have time for any question.
I saw a question on the chat. Which course provider you have used? How long you have studied for SQE 2? So I had friends who had like some notes, books, everything. He left it to me, so I used them because I was a student. I told you, like in London, living in a student accommodation, I didn't have money to afford that. So I used that. I just studied very hard. I had time, I fully invested it. And how long I studied for SQE 2, I would say 3 months. And last month, I only focused on this like crazy. But overall, I would say minimum 3 months you need to be working on because there are a lot of course, law. You need to remember the rules and apply on top of that. So you need some time to practice as well.
If anyone had a question, also can send us an email. We will answer all the questions about SQE. And thanks so much, Irim, for your time and for your explanation.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. If anyone has a question, I'm not sure. But if anyone has a question, please send us on email and we will answer all the questions as soon as possible.
Yes,
Thank
you
you,
guys
Irene.
also add me on LinkedIn and you can ask me any questions as well as Sarah. Thank you for
Thank you
everyone for joining today.